Good morning. Well, we're back at it in the farm here in the shop. We've got to get this planter wrapped up here. Brock's going to be here in a few minutes, and we're going to start with going through and checking the openers and gauge wheels on that front rank. We've already got the back stuff done, and then we need to wash down inside of these seed tube row unit shanks here. Then we can get all of our meters, seed tubes put back in. We got to check tires, lube up the chains. Well, we're going to wait on the tires till it's closer to planting, I guess. Lube up all the drive chains, and I could work on those hydraulic cylinder or valve block seals a little bit if I can figure that out. So that's today's plan. So Brock's here and checking our gaps on some of our openers, and he found another one. Where's that from, Brock? Behind the tire.
Between the tires.
Oh, over here. That was one of the hubs had come off. So, is this other side good? Yeah. That one is actually between the duals. That's our pinch row. I don't know why, but I've never had that happen. To have two of them this year is quite surprising. So, it's worn. Did you measure it? 14 and a half. Not that we're going to fix that one anyway. The question is, do we put two new ones on or just one? And I'm going to tell you to put two on. So we're going to replace both of those. That's interesting. I wonder why. Same deal though. The hub, the rivets just wore off. Sheared off of it. Good thing I got those two extra when I was at the dealer last week. I got four instead of just two. So he's got to take the gauge wheels off to get in there to do that. And then, yeah, I've shown you how they come off and everything. So it's always got to be the hardest one to get to too. In the front, between the tires. Can't get your impact in there. I do it all by hand. It's all right. It's harder to strip them out when you gotta do it by hand, isn't it, Brock? Yeah. But like I said, once you do it, you don't forget, right? You won't do it again. The left-hand ones are left-handed threads. Yeah, go back to last week. Oh, we are going to have some beautiful weather this week. The sun is shining today. Today's like the cold day. It's only supposed to be 52 or something, and upper 60s by Wednesday, Thursday. It's going to be just beautiful. It's wet, unfortunately. If it was dry, if the ground conditions were dry, we would be planting some beans this week, but it's way too wet. I highly doubt that it gets warm enough or dry enough anyway to do that, but slight chance, very, very slight. Well, Brock's got our row units washed off. I think he sprayed down the chains with some lubricant stuff. This one here looks sort of loose. I don't know if it's actually loose or it's just the way that stuff is folded and tensioned right now, and so I didn't want to tighten it, take a link out until we get everything in plant mode and run it for a minute to see what it looks like then. But washed out down in these row units. He's blowing the dirt off the floor so we can make it a little cleaner and nicer to work around in here, and we can get these row units put back on, so that's good. We're almost done here. As far as that valve block goes and our hydraulics cylinder settling and raising issues that we have, I did make a call to the John Deere tech to ask him which one of these should I be looking at. And he was going to get back to me. Also, they've got our 9R up there. You guys remember that? We took that tractor out to bring this stuff in here a week ago or whatever it was. They've got it in the shop and are working on it. And he had a few things that he suggested we do while it's there and halfway tore apart because the labor's cheaper to do it now. Things like a water pump and a oil cooler that they seem to have issues with at the hours that we're at, or just slightly more. So he said, if you're going to keep this tractor for more than 2 or 3 years, you should do these things now. And so we're going to have him get that all fixed up and good to go, so we don't have issues, or at least there's less of a chance that we have issues. Brock's getting seed tubes put back in, And I think I'm gonna go through stuff, but I think once we get this put back together, we're gonna get it out of here. I don't know what else we would have to do. Grease it. That's what we need to do. We need to grease it. So there are some grease points on the frame, the cylinders, wheel module, whatever, right here. It's right here. We need to grease that one and that one. There's two on the main frame lift points. There's some on the flex, I believe, somewhere in there. There's a grease, there's one right there. There's some on the fold pins up in here. So we need to do all of those. There's a couple up on the front on the hitch where it pivots up there. And then every gauge wheel has a grease zerk. Every gauge wheel arm, I should say. So right here, two of them on every row. So yeah, we need to do all of that on this rock shaft. There are grease zerks. So we'll hit all of those before we get it out of here. All right, so we are gonna fold those rear row units back down so that Brock can grease the gauge wheels on those. He was greasing other stuff. I've been working in the office on some paperwork stuff and paying some bills. I'm gonna go through and make sure he's gotten them all, but I think we're about done here. So you got those, and you got this fold here. Yep, okay. You missed this universal here. There's one on each end and one in the middle. And then you got this one, but you missed that one. Okay. Did you get the fold up there? Yep, okay. I think those four, the five on each side there. You got the rest. Did you get the ones up in the front here? Yep, got that one. Good job. So we'll do that and get the rest of the back on the gauge wheels. I'm gonna pull a couple of O-rings. I'm gonna get, I got some notes back from the tech, and we're gonna look at some stuff, pull out a couple, see if we can find a broken O-ring. Well, oil comes out of these when I take them out, which I should have expected, and I guess I did, but still, it's making a mess, which is not cool. The first one I did over here, there was a broken O-ring, but there was still pressure on that one. Okay. Okay then. All right, well, there's your safety lesson for the day and what not to do. Blast yourself in the face with hydraulic oil. Fortunately, I was holding my phone in front of my face, so it took the worst of the blow. I seriously thought that all the pressure, or at least the bulk of the pressure, was off, and maybe it was, but I did the same thing we did to lower the planter onto the stops and took all the weight off of the cylinders that are holding it up. And I put the hydraulic valve in float on the tractor so that there wouldn't be any pressure on it. And clearly, there was still a little bit of pressure on it. So, I don't know why. But, if you're doing this, be careful. I still got a little oil on the camera lens. We'll get that taken care of in a minute. But, this is the valve that came out of there. It is good. There is nothing wrong with the O-rings on that one. So, we're just going to go ahead and put it back in. Like I said, there was a bad O-ring on this one. I might check a couple more if I can look at my chart here and figure out which ones I needed to do. Well, after taking a few more things apart, not really finding anything that looked bad, I decided I'm going to be done until I can narrow this down a little bit more. We'll see. I doubt that one O-ring that we changed is going to actually do much, but you never know. So anyway, we're going to be done here for now. Okay, it's time. Planter's coming out of the shop. We got to move a couple things out of the way, move these chemicals. I had we had a visitor, had a nice chat. Gentleman who he grew up by our farm in Berkey, watches my YouTube videos. He's an engineer with John Deere. I said, yeah, absolutely, you can come stop. So we took a little tour around some stuff, and anyway, we're gonna get this planter out of here. So Brock's getting the back doors opened up, and we're gonna get in the tractor. We got to move that fuel tank, get stuff folded up, and those chemicals got to move. Brock, you wanna jump on the forklift and take them in the back. We'll put them in the back with all our other stuff. Okay. Now we just got to get the wings folded up. The engineering in this planter is pretty impressive. I will say that. It's heavy and it's complicated, but it works, and it's a very cool design. Look, parts delivery. Wonder if any of that's for us today. Might be. Now, what am I gonna do with this? I don't really have anywhere to put it. I was kind of hoping they'd have a roof on our new barn. I could put it in there, but they don't. Well, we have some issues there we need to talk about. The steel that they got for the sides and the roof was the wrong color, and it did not match. Apparently they had switched steel suppliers since the stuff we got for the barn next to it, and it was off enough that it's not going to work. So they're switching it out, going to get the right stuff, but yeah, that may be an issue. We are going to get the sprayer out. I think maybe I'll back that planter into that spot where the sprayer is, so we're moving some of these chemicals out of the way, letting the truck air up over there. We'll get that out. Dad's planing some boards. All kinds of stuff happening because it's nice outside. Look at this. Let's see if the sprayer will start. It hasn't run in 3-4 months. Oil's good. We're going to change it anyway, but wanted to make sure there was some in it. It's not laying on the floor underneath where it's sitting, so pretty much had to be. Oh look, I still got a GPS receiver up there. That's good. Alright. We're gonna start. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. We don't have a screen, so I can't see any of the machine functions, but we don't need that. We're just pulling it out. It's a little tight, little tight. Brock says we're good. Brock says we're good. Now I believe him. So, slight change of plans. We're going to back this wagon with our chemicals and stuff on it back in here where the sprayer was, and then we can just back the planter straight in. That was going to be a tough corner to make with some of that stuff sitting over there. So, we'll see how good Brock is with a forklift and moving a wagon around. This should be super easy, but it is Brock. You never know. Right, Brock? Right. Gosh dang, he did better than I thought he would. Good work, man. Good work. Okay, this is going to work. We are going to go ahead and unhook it here. I would leave it hooked up, but we got new tires coming for this tractor this week, so we're going to have it unhooked anyway. So, yeah, we're just going to leave it here, I guess. Finally, what we were after here. So, I think we're going to do a quick wash before we bring it in and put that tank back on, because there was a lot of grime in here and stuff. So, I'm going to have Brock do that. Just light, not crazy, but we're gonna clean stuff up a little bit. Let's see what we got here today. We'll start. I think, let me get this open. It's windy. That is the little retaining nut that we need for that electrical connector on the back of the 8R. Cool. Well, it looks clean. Cleaner. Good deal. I think we're ready to put it in the shop. Put our tank back on and our steps. Okay, so before we put this tank back on, I thought maybe I should try and clean up under where these straps go a little bit. I don't know the best way to do that. I'm going to start with this wire wheel on a grinder. It may be a bit aggressive though, so we'll just see what it does here real quick. Well, doing that lightly seems to be okay. It's cleaning it up nice. There is some pitting in there, but it wasn't leaking, so I'm going to go ahead and do that to the rest of it. I am going to get a dust mask, though, because I do know that aluminum dust is really bad for you. Well, that cleaned up pretty decent. Like I said, there is still some pitting, so I do have some of this stuff left over from a project from a couple of years ago. This is rubberized undercoating. We used it on a sprayer tank cradle on a project a couple of years ago. I think I'm going to go ahead and just spray a little bit of this. It's sort of like spray on truck bed liner stuff. So I'm just going to coat the bands, try and fill in all those pits and stuff. And hopefully it will keep it from getting worse. And dry fast so that we can put this back together. I didn't read that. There. If I remember and if I can find it, I'll post a link on to Amazon where you can find that stuff. Seems to be pretty good stuff. So, we got our new tank straps. It said 15 to 20 minutes of dry time, so we'll let that sit for a minute. We'll get all the rest of our stuff ready here. And it should not take much to do this. So the whole reason we started this project was to replace the fuel sending unit gauge that goes in that hole. This is the new style instead of what the ones that we pulled out of there the other day, but it's got that there that floats in the fuel. It's quite a bit more sturdy, I guess, than the old one. I think this is the style from the Cascadia trucks, the newer ones. Anyway, point being, the wire harness is different. The plug there is different on this fuel sender than the old one. So what that means is that we have to cut this end off of this one and splice new wires in. So I'm going to work on that while we're waiting for our stuff to dry. Given that these wires are the same color, both on the existing plug and the new plug, I'm going to make the assumption that it does not matter which way they get hooked up. That may or may not be a correct assumption, but we're going to go with that. So, we're going to cut them somewhere. The question is, do I cut them way up here, or do I cut them down at the end and make it longer? Maybe we should do that. I don't know. All right, so we got our new sensors or our wires spliced in there with the new fuel sending unit on there. So we plugged it in. We're going to try it here and make sure that it works. So it's plugged in. Let's see, where's the fuel gauge? It's up over there. It says it's empty. All right, Brock, move it up. Oh, it's moving. Sweet.
That's the cheapest fill up you've had.
Yeah, right? $1,000 right there. Cool. Looks good. I think it's going to work. So we can take it off of there and put the sending unit in the tank before we put the tank on, because you can't get it in there once the tank is on because the cab is in the way. So we're going to go put it in first. Like a quart. So the fuel tank has a fair bit of metal shavings and grindings and stuff in there. So we put just a little bit of fuel in the bottom. We're going to slosh it around and dump it out and see if we can't get at least some of it out. The fuel filter will catch it all. I'm not terribly worried about it, but the more we can get out, the better. Well, that's a little better. It doesn't look terribly dirty in there anymore. I don't know. We may have just washed them to an end, but hey, makes me feel better. All right, I took our plugs off the fuel lines that we had on there. Turns out they siphoned fuel out of the other tank. When we were taking this apart, I kept getting fuel and getting more and more and more, and I couldn't figure out why. Well, it was pulling it out of the other side. That's why, until I got it low enough to break the siphon. So this time, I knew that was coming, and we just blew a little air back in them with the air hose, and it quits siphoning. So that's good. We got to see if we can get these straps wrapped around there and tighten the tanks up, and then we got those fittings to put on and plug in our sensor and put the steps on. Well, that wasn't too bad. And we got to tighten up this bolt, which that one there's a real pain in the butt to get. This one here is easier to access, but you got to tighten them so far that a deep well socket's not deep enough. But we'll get them as far as we can with that, and then do it by hand the rest of the way, I guess. Done and done. Look at that, straight steps and everything. Looks great. We pumped the fuel back in it that we had in this tank. There wasn't as much in there as we had thought, but yeah, the new fuel sender is in. I should get a zip tie and tie that wire up a little bit. And the steps are on. I had to try and pull them straps together a little bit to get the holes to line up, but we're good. Everything's on and solid, and yeah. So I'm ready to take this out of here now. I am going to leave it because Phil's going to come in and want to look at it, and I'm going to have to tell him every step that we did, which is fine. But it's easier in here than outside. So we'll plan on taking this out first thing in the morning and bringing the sprayer in tomorrow. We had a good, productive day. Getting the bean planter out of here was huge. Getting this truck in and done is also huge. So I am happy about that. I'm going to clean up a little bit and then go sit in the office and work on some paperwork and some other stuff for a little while, and then we're going home. But yeah, other than a hydraulic oil bath or blast to the phone in the face, it was a good day. We will need to keep an eye on that fuel filter. See if any filings and shavings and stuff get sucked up in there. We tried to clean it out, but didn't get it all, so we'll watch that. Honestly, this truck, well, we'll use it a little bit this spring. The next thing we'll do with it probably is go get our tender trailer, which we're going to do 28 on wheat pretty soon. We're going to need that, so we'll probably end up going to Berkey to get that sooner rather than later would be my guess. Well, thanks for watching today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions and comments, leave them down below, and hit that subscribe button for me, please. We're bringing a sprayer in the shop tomorrow. We're going to try and do all the service work to that, I think. And we got to put the floater tires on. I don't know if we'll do that tomorrow or not. Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, see you tomorrow.